Some games are known as cruel. Every praise of them comes more as a warning. People hear in 5 minutes the game lets them drop down into a toilet with the promise of mystery, but leads to a dead end with no rope to grab on, no way to leave the bottom of the toilet other than closing the game. But those few who dare to plunge down, the brave ones, climb back as veterans with stories to tell. The best game you never played, the best game you don't want to play, and 100 more rewardings of the same title. The alienating choice gets the word around. The evil video game with its eviler mechanic gets known in naughty circles. By talking about it so much, they pinpoint it on the map to be avoided, unless if you're into it. Like an off-menu hot sauce someone has to specifically ask for and everybody else watches them suffer through it. These are brave games, but bravery is a financial disaster. Being a pussy is the much safer bet. It's a lucrative industry, actually. Those scary choices, they stink. They smell of poverty. Fucking disgusting. The game becomes more talked about and remembered, not bought and played. It takes guts to be harsh and unkind while crafting a game, something most billion-dollar studios can afford. Though every now and then, one of these companies buys itself trouble by hiring the kid who comes up with ideas such as the malaria mechanic in Far Cry 2. Back in 17-year-old forums, people talked about Far Cry 2 like they talked about any other game, not as perfection before decadence. Some loved it, some hated it, some said, yeah, it's good. But one complaint written in these forums is the fucking malaria. It's not a cutscene thing, it's a gameplay annoyance, and they did it on purpose. An illness the protagonist has, but the player suffers from it. Why distract the gun-wielding protagonist with an illness? Why can't he be perfect? Why can't he be Leon S. Kennedy in his original Resident Evil 4? He knows the rules, he made them, he is the rules. Handsomely got out entire districts of people, looking good and healthy doing it, but only in gameplay. In my every annual playthrough, the game reminds me that Leon is a human being. To the local Las Plagas he is, gets him dizzy and tottering away, coughing up blood struggling in his throat, tortures him. He's exhausted from feeling ill and can do nothing about it but pass out on a wooden floor. This is not Leon Kennedy, it's a dying man. But in gameplay, he is Leon suplexing Kennedy again. Would Resident Evil 4 even be a game if Leon was shaking the knees, dragging himself along the whole time? It's a ritual to me playing this game, and I can't see Leon's magnum opus being the same if he doesn't look and move like a superhero. If the disease escaped the plot, the herbs wouldn't replenish his health or tanking medieval arrows, they would be drugs fueling his legs to take a couple more steps. It's much easier for other medium's characters to suffer on a technical level. In Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker famously loses his powers. He is freed from being Spidey and leaves just as Peter again. But in its iconic, great, if not the best 2000s movie tie-in game, it's cut out. This life-changing chapter is ripped out. The game is shy of his weakness, but stays somewhat loyal to the rest of the film script. They cured him. They cured him in the game because not doing so could suck. Seeing Peter Parker fail to swing and crawl as Spider-Man is engaging, but playing as him is not. It's sacrificing the writing to not translate the character's suffering into gameplay, but a greater sacrifice on the game's part to not make the suffering engaging. Should the player feel the illness? A choice like this spreads throughout the whole body of the game. It's safer to leave it as non-playable or soften it to some minor debuffs and a few coughs as reminders to the player that the beast they are playing as is wearing the skin of its sick man. He's acting like he's dying rather than being tied to his deathbed by the lack of life in him. There are rules set in the game's code working miracles against the illness to guarantee fun, a plot armor unique to games. In other mediums, if someone happens to be terminally ill, they will always know it. The death of Ivan Ilyich. Ivan is a sickly, dying man. Ivan Ilyich is dead. The first page claims him. In the next ones, he is still busy with life going somewhat pleasantly and somewhat not. But whatever troubles him, his wife, his job, they all sort themselves out, leaving him with his pleasant life once again. But one sudden bad news stayed with him, an illness. When he's diagnosed, he tries to brush it off as another setback. It's going to go away. When it does, he goes back to the life he had before. But Ivan will die, and suffer while doing so. No rules, no laws freeing him from the pain of his illness. He will feel all of it, every bit with all of his limbs, till he dies. Pathologic could be the first one in the dynasty of the best game you never played. Known as the game that asks deep moral questions. It does ask them. Don't let it get too many answers. Not an ounce of respect going from Pathologic to anyone. Something about it though. Something about it pulled me into it. The game had the look, the whimsy of any small town. The town, its people, and the rest of the world far away. It's somewhere with only autumn in its calendar. The little town is only a few beautiful blocks. But there is no running, only snailing around it. The first thought in my head about Pathologic was remembering how everyone talked about it. It's cruel, the cruelest there is. But no, it was only boring. Is the challenge not giving up on a boring game? That first day took me a week. I know the whole thing was about to be taken by a plague, but had to drag myself back and forth around the town, telling those in charge that there is a plague, do something. They do nothing, of course. They don't believe it. They don't want to. A doctor is horrified even hearing the word plague said out loud. The cost of believing terrible truths is high, and if the plague is true, the town is done for. It's the most radical of survival horrors. Inventory management isn't a headache, it's a luxury. The horror comes from seeing the economy crushed. Day after day, those prices, they jump scared me. It was even scarier to think those price tags are going to sound cheap by tomorrow. Was very close to home. Making it to the end of the day boiled down to the very basics of survival. Having enough food and sleep, and keeping away from any illnesses. If the balance is not met, the toll is taken from the dwindling health bar. Plan A for staying alive is walk around doing errands, gather money to buy drugs and food. If there is anything left after that, give it away. Then sleep a good night, heal up for tomorrow, gonna cure the thing any day now. The only bad thing about Plan A is that it doesn't come with sunshine and rainbows. Plan B is less ideal, but it happens every day. Sell anything there is for drugs. Guns, bullets, even food, all of it. Easing the illness with the side effect of being hungrier than starving. Those in control didn't want to acknowledge there was a plague. That was my fault. They knew the prices, they set them. Even small wars making rounds can starve half the families living here. So much so a killing plague roaming in their streets and homes. Anything I did felt like the wrong thing to do or say. Outcomes were always bad, and could always be worse. Those in charge were not doing any better either. They hated each other, so they weren't working together. Each of them were fighting the plague on their own, all of them losing. Finding a cure while needed is secondary. Keeping order comes first. Less food and more illness means more beggars and fogs on the streets. Authorities never got along with them. Now it's their job, their duty to clean them out and make it official. The sickness can justify any pile of corpses, no matter how big. The plague sees more of the town with each passing day. In almost all districts, everyday townsfolk were replaced by desperate savages, killing and robbing each other. The army tried to contain them, tried to shut them off, by burning them down with flames. The plague didn't matter at this point. If it died down on its own, people wouldn't notice. They keep on taking each other's limbs apart, like spiders in a jar. The wealthy in charge were horrified. They locked themselves behind their cozy walls. The middle beneath them couldn't afford to do that. They became beggars, the new ones. The older ones could no longer afford to beg. Their remains became food to the rats carrying out the plague from one street to another. Sometimes stuck in the absurd city planning, I got reminded of the same street, looking nice and clean. It was only another forgettable part of town, back when every corner was forgettable and not mapped into my head. No sickness, no looting plagued houses for drugs but leaving even more ill. This was a boring town I thought looked nice in a game that was a snooze fest to me at first. But one mechanic set the game on fire. The plague. Pathologic did not pull any punches other than the death blow, the 15-round knockout punch, death meaning the end. The safe file is gone, get out. It's one messed up game, don't get me wrong, cruelty isn't born as an aesthetic, any pain brought upon the town is felt by the player. The game has the philosophy of a slow method of torture. However, no matter how many times someone markets the game as cruel, to a point where they say it's unplayable, it will never be as ruthless as the games way before its time in the arcades. There was no saves coming in those, no cheating death, not one line of forgiveness behind these games. People who made them were not believers of quick saving or slow torture. If a player died, they were out, executed. For someone behind that arcade screen, even if a game did not have a winning screen, not losing was the most meaningful thing in the universe. A quarter worth of meaning out of their pocket. The little coin could have been a warm meal back then. Maybe, probably, I don't know. Arcade cabinets and stable economies were always things of the past to me. Today, however, that approach is still around, at least in roguelikes. They treat death as arcades did, but they don't ask for coins each time. They're a bit more modest. But still, losing a run that's been going good feels shitty. Staring into that death screen gets to me every time. Then the run is forgotten by the next one. There are many roguelikes I talk highly about. Some of these games I know the item descriptions by heart, but can't recall any of the runs, can't remember a single detail about a run. Each run is as special as a bag of chips, but going out for a shot at the arcades is much more meaningful than the luckiest possible build of items. That doesn't mean anything to me, other than an hour of fun I'm going to forget. Darkwood dares to hit those punches, the ones that leave marks in the soul of each player, so each time they hear the game's name, they get reminded of their death and what led to their failure. These are heavy jabs, the game knows this, so it does let the player who doesn't feel comfortable with them dodge them. There are 3 difficulty options, none of them compromise on the rules of the game. The health bar doesn't get smaller, the weapons do the same harm, there is only one change. Where does death lead to? In normal, death is nothing to be conscious about. Dying is a minute of hassle over getting the items back. Hard means one life gone, some more to go, don't run out of them. In Nightmare, the health bar is the one and only. The further from the starting point, the more I cling to it. Getting caught in a bear trap sounds louder. The same mistake can be made twice. Some can be made even once. Everything in the woods is either a killer or warns of one, down to the sound of a stick getting stepped over. It's a good sound. It gets me scared enough to look around and run away. Fights aren't worth fighting. Winning them isn't worth the axe getting broken or the bullet shot. They're waste of everything. But if a fight were to come along, anything carried in the inventory will be useless without getting out of it. There was a moment early on, like in any other run, I wanted to gain some of these superpowers by injecting myself with mushrooms. Running a good mile without getting tired is pretty good, but it comes with all sort of downsides and illnesses. Will dealing less damage when tired get back to me? It did get me a couple of times, but way back before. Back then it was an annoyance to put up with, like a tiny pebble stuck in my shoe. No life or death. I never cared that much about the bad that comes with it. I didn't have to. Without death, my tolerance for pain and misery is infinite. But right here, in Nightmare, a little annoying pain could annoy me to death. It's not worth it. Being stuck in the woods is already suffocating. It's like getting stuck in a cancerous limb, prisoner among the killing cells in the dying body of the woods. The stranger, an outsider, is a healthy one. Injecting more of the woods into him will make him be like any other here. Those he has to deal with, and those who want to kill him. The trees with their branches mustered up, eating away the forest, down to the ground they grow upon. These branches have settled. They're not gonna go away, and not letting anyone else leave either. However, there is an escape route, the only one left, but the key is lost in the woods. Finding and grabbing the key from the clutter of growing roots and thorns clashing with each other is painful and not worth it. The escape route only leads deeper into the woods, to a more diseased limb. There is no escaping out of this sickly body, no cutting through it. All that can be done is to set a fire. Burn it down. Burn through the woods till it gets to its cause, willing to kill both the good and the bad to get rid of it, so the woods could never see its victory. Or leaving the woods to be, letting it nourish itself on the soil, accepting it won, even if it burns down with the ashes of everything it wanted to kill.